Hello and welcome to Connotation Points video Snark. I'm making my way through Born at Midnight by CC Hunter. If you haven't seen the other videos, you might want to do that before jumping into this one, or else you might be confused. Links will be posted below. Chapter 34. Kelly wakes up to Miranda yelling. Kelly assumes that Miranda and Della are getting into a fight again, but then realizes that Della doesn't have balls, and that jerks her awake. Miranda found the kitten Lucas had given Kelly and naturally thought that it was Perry again. This leads Kelly to explaining about Lucas's visit, disappearance, and the FRU coming to try and find Lucas. The three girls don't know what Lucas did or what he's accused of doing, but the human police are involved now too. Later, Helen comes to the cabin and says that she heard Kylie wasn't feeling well. However, this was a ruse, and Kylie says that she's looking for advice on how to get a boyfriend. Kylie feels like she isn't good at that either, and she only just had one boyfriend, but she tells Helen just to be honest. Some more time passes and Kylie feels like things are starting to pile up on her. Della and Miranda won't stop fighting. She's getting nowhere with her meditations with Holiday. Trey won't stop harassing her and leaving long messages on her phone, and her dad has now contacted the mom and says that Kylie hasn't been responding to his calls and emails. Despite the fact that the dad told the mom that he himself hadn't gone to see Kylie, Kylie's mom is more upset that Kylie lied to her about the dad coming, and then Kylie turns the argument around about how Kylie's mom is always angry at the dad, and then she tells Kylie that she's going to be coming, but somehow expects for Kylie to work out the schedule between both parents coming to visit her. Although knowing the dad, the other weekend is going to go the first of many no-shows in the rest of Kylie's life. Get used to disappointment, honey. He's made it very clear that you're not a priority. The only good news seems to be that soldier dude hasn't shown back up again, although Holiday is certain that it's only a matter of time until he reappears. Kylie also tries to ask Holiday about Lucas, but Holiday won't tell her anything. Furthermore, from observing the two counselors, Kylie gets a feeling that they're super stressed out. Later, another fight breaks out between a witch and a fairy, and Miranda mentions that the two have a long history of not getting along. Like, gee, can't possibly imagine what could happen if we make a camp for supernaturals, but only make one and then force all of the supernaturals to spend 3 months together. Only good things, right? Right? Della randomly mentions that the animals nearby sound angry. This will probably be relevant later, so I'm mentioning it now. Oh, and Helen asked out the boy that she liked, if anybody cares. On Friday, Kylie breaks down and calls her dad. He acts like he hasn't been going out of his way to avoid anything to do with his child and says that he'll be there for the weekend parent visit. Kylie warns him that her mom also promised to be there, but let's just say, still not holding my breath about Daddy Dear showing up. Honestly, not really counting on Mommy showing up either. But there's still some part of Kylie that's hoping that her parents being at the camp at the same time will remind them of the good times and that they'll get back together. But at the same time, Kylie feels like maybe it'll hurt a little less this weekend when he fails to show up again. As she hangs up, Derek says that he drew her name, although when Kylie reminds him that he's already drawn her name, he says that he wouldn't have to keep making trades if she wouldn't avoid him. Ugh. This book was doing so well with finally getting to introduce Lucas as a viable love interest, and then Lucas leaves and all we're left is Mr. Pushy over here. Then Derek randomly brings up about how Kylie keeps giving relationship advice, first between Miranda and Perry, and then Helen and her new boyfriend, and something about a vampire, but I have no idea who he's talking about because I don't think Della has hooked up with anybody. But Derek makes a joke about her being Cupid and says that it's not that far-fetched, and this isn't even pretending not to be Percy Jackson at this point with the descendant from God's business. They agreed to go to the same spot as their first conversation and walk out there. Once on the rock, Derek begins by telling her about his relationship problems, which is a thinly veiled excuse to talk about how much he wants to bang Kylie. Ugh. But you and Mandy are friends, he said. It still wasn't fitting together. But she kissed you. You obviously haven't ever noticed her in a crowd. She's a serial kisser. I think her parents are French. Yeah, I'm not touching that. Kelly says that her emotions are kind of all over the place and that it's hard for her to know how she feels right now, but Derek said that trying to make Kylie feel jealous by kissing Mandy was probably a mistake. He continues on and says that he doesn't want to be just friends with her, but he respects her wishes to stay that way. Oh gee, thanks a lot, dude. But then he says that he's glad that Lucas is gone now. Ugh. Chapter 35. Kelly thinks that Derek somehow knows about how Lucas kissed her, but they don't say anything, and they continue not to say anything. Kelly brings up Derek's mom coming tomorrow, and and kind of teases him about how much his mom seems to love Derek. He says that he doesn't like seeing Kylie stressed when she mentions about how her parents both promised to be there and he holds her hand. He also asks if the ghost is stressing her out. Kylie agrees and tells him everything in regard to that. Derek mentions how he's slowly getting his animal communication powers under control and then asks if Kylie wants to get her own powers under control. Kylie says that it scares her, but she goes on and says that the guy seems almost familiar to her. However, she asked her mom if anybody had ever served in the military in their family, but she said no. But according to Holiday, the ghost can sometimes pick the person because of a previous connection. Derek then says that their hour was up 30 minutes ago and Kylie has to fight herself in order not to kiss him. The next day, much to my surprise, the mom actually shows up. However, the entire time she's there, the mom keeps acting like she has better things to be doing. Kylie's mom is mentioning about Della and Miranda when Soldier Dude shows up. Kylie again asks her mom if there weren't any soldiers in the family, but mom is more interested in Holiday. Kylie also briefly thinks about how Holiday was introduced to Kylie's mom, but confirmed that she wasn't a supernatural. And then mom says that she needs to be going a full 30 minutes ahead of when she'd promised Kylie. As Kylie walks her mom out, she looks to Della and Miranda and realizes that neither of them look happy either. At the car, Kylie passively aggressively needs to remind her mom that normal mothers hug their children goodbye, but she says that it's weird if you have to ask for a hug. And then the dad shows up, clearly in the beginning of his own midlife crisis in tight jeans and a new spiky hairdo. Holiday also confirms that he is not a supernatural. And then the dad openly flirts with Holiday, who is probably only a couple of years older than Kylie, and the entire thing is about as gross as you're probably thinking that it is. Later, Holiday invited Kylie and a supply run to town. Kylie is crying over everything, but mostly her dad. Holiday is also a child of divorce and says that you just need to muster through things like this and eat ice cream. Lots of ice cream. Holiday also mentions that she's feeling her own worries over Burnett, the vampire of her Yuga. After getting ice cream, Kylie asks how you know that you're in love. Holiday says that there's hormonal love and hurt love, but she also says that even if it looks, sounds, and walks like a dog, sometimes it can stink like a skunk. That and her bad memories are tattooed onto her brain, and she wishes that she could just remove them. They go next door to the bookstore, where Kylie finds some books on dyslexia, which she gets for Miranda. Holiday hasn't finished shopping by the time Kylie has bought the books, so Kylie steps outside of the shop. There she sees a couple holding hands as they walk down the street, and a weird thought occurs to Kylie. She has never once seen her parents acting like that. Full stop. They were always doing mom things and dad things, but never things like date night. As Kylie moves to Holiday's van, she sees another couple coming out from the bed and breakfast. They start playing tonsil hockey in front of the place, but Kylie is having a hard time looking away, mainly because they seem so familiar. And then as they pause for air, Kylie gets a good look at the guy and seems to recognize him. Chapter 36. The man that Kylie spied French kissing the lady outside of the B&B is her dad. Ew. The girl is somebody that Kylie knows as well, although not quite that well. It's some lady that works under her dad, and Kylie knows that this girl is only 4 years older than Kylie herself, which puts her at 20, because the situation wasn't gross enough. And suddenly, her mom's behavior, like throwing dad's underwear onto the grill, makes a lot of sense. Which, yeah, nobody wakes up one morning and just decides to fire up the grill and serve your husband's underwear. Holiday comes out from the bookstore and asks if Kylie is okay. Kylie mentions murdering her dad, but more importantly, she asks that Holiday hold off on contacting Kylie's mom for a while. Later, Kylie offers to read the dyslexia books to Miranda instead of watching the weekly movie with everybody else. As she goes back to the cabin, she realizes that she needs to change the litter box, and the cat itself hides under the sofa. Kylie's mom calls, but Kylie is more interested in the cat. She eventually gives up and goes to her room to change, but sees a lion lounging on her bed. She naturally thinks that it's Perry, but the thing doesn't budge at all. Soldier Dude shows up then, and he actually talks to Kylie. He warns her that it's not Perry and that it's an actual lion. Which, how did a lion get past 2 doors? Or did it just squeeze through a window or something? None of this makes sense, but sure. The lion jumps off the bed and gets between Kylie and the door, which cuts off her only means of escape. She asks Soldier Dude if there isn't anything he could do, but he points out that if he could do something, he would have done it already. And then Kylie decides that now is an amazing time to finally get some answers from the ghost. She asks him what his name is, and he says Daniel Brighton. He says that he only just wants for her to know that he didn't have a choice. Kylie asks if she should tell somebody about anything that she saw, but he says no. And then Kylie asks if her grandmother is in heaven, which Daniel confirms, and Kylie asks why Nana can't visit her too. And then Daniel says that he was there first, that they only allow one spirit at a time to come to Kylie until she's old enough to cope. Honey, I don't think that she's doing well with coping with this. And then Kylie literally echoes my sentiment. Kylie asks if Daniel has met Nana before, and he says yes, a long time ago. And then suddenly Kylie can see inside of Daniel's mind the same way that the others keep claiming that they can do about other supernaturals. She sees a bunch of symbols, which she first likens to kanji and then to ancient symbols, which, yeah, no, still not going to touch upon that. The lion lunges for Daniel and he vanishes, and then it lunges for her. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. If you enjoy my videos, please hit that subscribe button. I post new Snark video every Monday. Don't forget to check out my other videos, Snark of Stalking Chuck the Ripper and The Plan. If you've already seen those, then you can head over to Tumblr for my main book, Snarks. And if all of that is somehow still not enough for you, then you can become my Patience Reporter for just $1 a month and read a bunch of bonus Snarks that aren't up anywhere else. See you next week, guys. Kylie again asked her mom if there weren't any soldiers in the family, but Mom is more interested in Holiday than... Hi. Yes, I love you. Yes. Am I ignoring you? Okay. Where was I?